Hello crafters and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Deepa from DeeZinesByD and today I'm part of the Pinkfresh Fridays YouTube Hop. So today I'll be creating a scrapbook layout, but I'm going to be doing it with a little bit of a twist. I'm doing it for the monthly challenge. So Pinkfresh Studio also has a monthly challenge. They have some inspiration, a bunch of colors, a color scheme, and a theme. And this month's theme is texture. So I'm going to create texture with embossing, dry embossing to be precise, and I'm going to be using a foil plate to do it, which I think is really neat, and I always forget that you can use this technique and it turns out so beautifully. So let's go ahead and get started on this. Now, this video is labeled using washi on your scrapbook layouts. I'm going to be using the Indigo Vines and Poinsettia washi tape. Now, these are large washi tapes. They're nice and wide. They cover a larger area. And Pinkfresh is known for these. They usually carry these in suites. So you not only get the washi, you can also get the stamp that goes along with it. So you can add your own colors if you want different colors in the washi. You've got the coordinating die, which cuts out all of those images on, for example, if you look at the stamp, all of those images, they cut them all out in one go, which is the thing that I love most about this, which is why it works for a scrapbooking layout where you need a lot more than just a few pieces compared to a card. So what you do is you lay out that washi, cut everything out. I'm going to do it a few times, and then I'll have all of my pieces ready to go for my scrapbook layout. Now, for the texture portion, as I said, I'm using that foil plate, and then I've also got some of the embellishments. Now, Pinkfresh Studio has come out with a lot of cool embellishments lately. They have the glitter drops, and I also have these iridescent drops, which I have to say are my favorite. I think in the end I switched my mind with the glitter drops, but we'll go ahead and show you those because they are beautiful. As I said, I'm using this plate here, and let's just go ahead and get started. Okay, so you can see here I'm a bit of a craft hoarder. I not only use the supplies, but I sometimes hoard a bit. So I actually have all of these, and these are from like a few releases ago. I haven't even used it. I'm just opening it now. So I've got this gold metallic cardstock, and this is actually from Spellbinders. And the reason why I chose to use this one is because it's not got a paper backing to it. And because of that, it embosses gorgeously. Like, it has a malleability to it that, you know, you're not going to get any cracking or any issues when you do dry embossing on it. So I basically cut out two panels that are A2 sized, so 4¼ by 5½, which is the size of the foil plate. And I've gone ahead and I've embossed it. I'm going to emboss both, and you can see how gorgeous that turns out. As I mentioned, there's no paper, so there's no cracking, and the impressions are insanely gorgeous. Now, since I'm using a foil plate, it's a little different. So if you're wondering about the sandwich, I wanted to show you that here. So I use my Big Shot Plus. I've got the platform and adapter A, and then I've got my acrylic plate. It's a little warped, but it's not a big deal. I can push it flat. And then I'll put down my foil plate, my piece of cardstock or this metallic cardstock, and then I'll put on my embossing pad. Run that through, and you only really need to go through once. It foils perfect. It embosses perfectly. Now, moving on to our washi tape. So this is obviously the prep portion of the video. All you really have to do is take an 8½ by 11-inch sized piece of cardstock, so normal page sized. I cut them in half lengthwise, so I have 4 pieces, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to lay out 4 of these patterns. So you can see that the pattern is continuous. It repeats on the washi. All you have to do is cut off the portion that you want to use, and in this case, it's just one copy of the pattern. And you can see that's easy to identify because you have a wreath and then about 6 different images. And that's your, basically the pattern, the main pattern that repeats. So I've done that for the indigo vines here. And now I'll do the same thing for the poinsettia. So you can see all I do is place it onto the cardstock. I'll pull out the washi tape and flatten it. The washi tape is very forgiving, so if you get bubbles, I just use my bone folder to kind of flatten it and just make sure all the bubbles are out, and then I cut it off using an X-Acto knife at the edge. I find this works better than scissors. And then I can just flatten it nicely, make sure everything's adhered to the cardstock, and then it's just a matter of cutting it out. And so now I've got the coordinating die, and this is the fun bit. Now I make sure when I add washi, here are some low-tack tape to keep it in place. It's not only going over the washi, but over some of the cardstock, because on the washi, it's very It's got a very slick surface, so it can move if you're putting washi on washi. You want to make sure you've got part of that tape on the cardstock. So I've gone ahead and cut out all 4 of those patterns, or each copy that I laid out there on the washi. And as I said, I really only put this through my die cutting machine 4 times. And I cut out like a ton of images. I think you get about 8 images with each run through your die cutting machine. So at the end of the day, with 4 cuts through your die cutting machine, you're actually getting 32 images. And that is just enough, if not more, for scrapbooking. So moving on, let's go ahead and cut out the sentiment. I'm gonna use Merry Memories. So for the memories portion, I'm using the Kelly Alpha set. So I had mentioned I was going to use the Lee's Ornate, or I think I showed you in the beginning there. Changed my mind, and I wanted these because I have those little see-through hearts there, so I can add some gold behind that, which just ties that gold into the rest of the theme of this layout. And what I'm doing here is I'm literally just putting these through my Sizzix Sidekick. So I have the Big Shot Plus, and that's really my only die cutting machine. I'm trying my best to be savvy. I spend most of my money on products. And the Sizzix Sidekick just comes in handy for smaller dies to just cut at my table because I have to turn around to another table to use that big honking machine. Now, I showed you that for the Merry portion, I've got Merry and Bright, and I'm going to cut it in half. And I use the Merry Sentiments or Holiday Sentiments set. This is an older set, but it's another great set in the sense that you can foil everything and cut everything in one go. And I just keep like a little tin of all of the stuff that I've foiled, all the sentiments, and it's good to have on hand for quick cards, quick layouts like I'm doing here. So now what I'm doing is I'm going back to those Kelly Alpha cut letters, and I'm using the same gold metallic cardstock that I used for that texture portion with the foil plate. I'm cutting out some small strips, and all I'm doing is adding these to the back of the letters so that the gold shows through those little hearts that have been die cut in the letters. Now I'm just adding a bit of dot runner, and the dot runner is important because if I put like a flat, like a solid runner over top of those hearts, it's going to cover it with a bit of glue, and then you're not going to see the metallic gold through it as nicely as you should. So I put a bit of the dot runner on the back, I add the little strip and put it on every portion of the letter until it's covered, until it looks gorgeous. And so I've gone ahead and adjusted my camera here to get most of the scrapbook layout in. As I mentioned, I usually do cards, so I kind of had to change my setup just a little bit so you can see more. I've got my card, sorry, not my card, I've got my picture here, and I just have like a Canon picture printer. So anytime I'm doing a layout, I can quickly just print out a picture. I don't actually have to print out a whole bunch of prints at once. And I will say, I'm not a reviewer or anything, but it actually is really cool because it prints out one color at a time. And you can make layouts. You can make smaller little pictures if you want to do like smaller little mini albums or things like that. I would say it really comes in handy. Okay, so aside from the picture printer here, I've gone ahead and I've taken those 2 embossed metallic pieces and I've attached them to the right of my layout. You can see that I have about 1.5 inches of white showing to the left, and then there's about 1/2 inch at the top and bottom because, you know, the layout is 12 by 12, and those pieces that I embossed were 5.5 each, so that only gives me 11 inches with 1 inch to spare. But I find that the little bit of a border around it just really kind of makes it stand out a little more and looks kind of nice. I did kind of want to extend it to the end, but I decided not to in the end because it looked good as it was. So I've gone ahead and backed my picture onto some navy blue cardstock, which is the same color cardstock that I used to cut out the letters. And now I'm just kind of doing a little bit of mapping. So I'm pretty sure you do this if you're a scrapbooker or even a card maker. You kind of just take all your little pieces now that you've got them all and kind of map out where you want them to go. I normally would just take a picture of my phone and then I can go back and put everything where I want it, but it really crafting depends on my mood. And my mood this day, as I was making this layout, was to just put it together. I wanted to see the final result. So I did a little bit of planning, but in the end, I just went ahead and just put it all together. And so the main thing for me to plan out was the letters. And since those are nicely planned out in my head, I'm going to go ahead. I think I've attached the picture here, and I added some fun foam to the back of it just to give it a bit of lift and a little bit of a dimension. And when I'm doing scrapbooking layouts, even my cards, I love the 3D effect. I love dimension, and so I add it to everything I create. So all of those little foam squares and foam dots and all of those definitely come in handy for me. I've actually got like a little box of them to the left of me in my crafting area, and there's tons of different shapes. There's a ton of different sizes, and I just use them for everything. I've even got strips, and the strips really come in handy, especially for the back of these letters. So I've gone ahead and I've attached the strips to the back of the letters ahead of time, because you don't want to be sitting here watching me attaching and cutting and taking all the backing off of all of that. And now it's just a matter of placing down the letters as I space them out and plan them in my mind. So this is actually the fun part for me. That's why I kind of got a little impatient and I just said, forget planning it. I'm just going to put it all together. As I've mentioned, I used to do a lot of scrapbooking before when I had a lot more patience. I have 3 little girls now. They're age 3, 5, and 8. God, I don't know. There's too many of them. And the thing is my patience is shot. So scrapbooking takes a little bit longer than card making, right? So I find that I kind of ditched the scrapbooking for a while, and I've been doing a lot of card making, and it is nice and refreshing to go back to the scrapbooking, because I think, they're a little bit older now, so I've gained a little bit of the patience back, but I have kind of lost a bit of my skill. So please, my layout kind of lacks a bit of focus. It's kind of haphazard. You've got pieces of foliage here and there. And I mean, I like how it turned out, but I feel like, there are tons of, especially the ladies on this hop are so talented. So, I hope you like the way this turned out, and I hope that I can do better in the future. So now that I've got the letters all put down, I'm just going to go ahead and add all of these beautiful washi tape pieces that we die cut, put them around the photo. I kind of wanted to create initially I wanted to have kind of a curve going around it on the right side. But then I wanted to have a bit of contrast between the textured gold portion that we dry embossed and these die cuts. So I started on the left, and then I kind of lost that idea for the curve. And then it just kind of went wherever it went, and I added little bits here and there to just fill in space. And I don't know, like I said, in the end, it's still a nice layout, I would say. It's just not what I had in my head originally. So maybe that's why I'm being a little bit of a critic for it. But, I hope that besides however it turns out, whether you do like it or you don't, you can see that using the Pinkfresh washi tape and their suites are great for scrapbooking. Now, the fact that they've created the suites in a way that, you can do everything so much quicker rather than, taking one little die and lining it up and then taking this one and lining it, that takes so long, and then you kind of lose your momentum, and then putting everything together in a scrapbook layout, it takes longer, right? And it's kind of discouraging. This allows you to put a scrapbook together in maybe an hour or 2 hour session, along with prepping everything. So, I love their scrapbooking products, but even their card products like this work so nicely, especially if you are using the washi. Now, if you want to take a little more time and you want to use your own color scheme and not the colors that are on the washi tape, you can also do that. So you get the stamp and you get the coordinating die and the stencils. Now the stencils are great for adding your own color. If you don't want to use the stencils, you want to take a little longer, you have more patience than I do, you can use your Copics to color them in and then cut everything out. I mean, the possibilities with the way these products work together are endless. And that's part of the reason why I joined the Pinkfresh Fridays Hop is because I have so many of their products and I think they're so smart. And I really wanted to use them more and show people the different ways in which you can use them and how versatile they are. And whoa, look at that. Everything's kind of put together now. So as I said, it's kind of more of a haphazard scrapbook layout. It's like I said, I still like the way that the colors work together. And I love that the texture, I think that's my favorite part. The texture on that metallic cardstock on the left is impeccable. And it works very well with the poinsettia washi because it has that gold foil accent on it. So I think all in all, in terms of the color scheme and the texture, it turned out really nice. And I really hope that you like it too, or are inspired in some way to create something similar, or to take some ideas, or one idea, or just something from this to create something for yourself. Now, I am using some Altenew enamel drops, and I know that Pinkfresh Studio has their own. I just don't have them. As I mentioned, I don't have the scrapbooking stuff. And that's probably my next purchase when I can scrounge some money together. I know there's a bunch of Black Friday sales going on now. It's unfortunate my wallet is empty because I would love to get some of these scrapbooking products. But anyways, I'm just using the lightest. It's like a really light blue. It almost looks white, the enamel dots. I'm placing those around the scrapbook layout. And then I'm also going to mix in some gold pearls. So I originally was going to use the butterscotch glitter drops, but then I found they were a little too orange looking. So I decided to put those aside, use the gold pearls, and it actually worked out nicely. And again, it ties in that metallic gold. So that's my layout for today. So I hope that you liked my video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm hoping to be part of the rest of the hops moving forward. And there's also a bunch more inspiration on my YouTube channel. All of the products that I've used today are linked in my blog, which is linked in the description below. And go ahead and check out all of the other talented ladies on the hop. I hope you guys have a great weekend. If you're in the US, happy Thanksgiving. And I hope to see you again next time. Bye.